Hey guys, it's Stephanie from SK Artistry. So I posted some pictures that my husband made some floating canvas frames for me today, which were amazing, best husband ever. And a lot of people asked for a video and for instructions on how to do it. So we are getting ready to do it. I will preface this by telling you guys, my husband is not a YouTuber. He does not enjoy being on camera or any of that jazz. So I'm gonna hold the camera and record. I will probably ask him prompts for what he's doing so that we can kind of explain it to you guys. And I'm gonna try to cut out the sound when he's sawing and put music in there and time lapse it and stuff for you guys. So just wanted to let you guys know that if you hear me asking him questions like, hey, what are you doing? That's just to prompt him to tell us and explain to you guys what's happening. But yeah, so we're gonna make a video for you guys, okay? See you in a minute. Okay guys, we're back. Do you want to explain?
So this is an already completed but not sanded and painted frame that I did earlier. The intent of this one was a 16 by 20, but because canvas consistency isn't the best, you can't go with an exact 16 by 20 interior dimension. So when we measure these, we're actually adding about 1/4 inch slot, both length and width, to account for a little bit of a gap in between the canvas and the wood. So these are 1 by 2 by 8s, which actually end up being 3/4 by 3/4 by 1.5, and we're using them vertically. We created a Excel spreadsheet to make the math easier.
And I'll put that spreadsheet into the video right here. So you guys will know what measurements you need to use.
We're going to be making 12 by 24 here in a second, but just to explain it on the 16 by 20 that we have. If you cut for 16 by 20, you're going to be short. The intent is to cut so you can measure on the outside edge. When you measure on the inside edge of a piece, which I don't have, it's not as easy to measure. So we're adding the width of the frame onto each side, and this one is 3/4 inch, so we are adding 1.5 inches onto every measurement. So for the 16-inch sides, we're actually going to cut the pine to 17 3/4, and the 20-inch side to 21 3/4, and then the inside trim pieces are going to be 16 1/4 by 20 1/4. Ends up being about 152 linear total inches. And if you're looking for a cost estimate, you're looking at about $20 to construct this frame just in wood materials alone. So that's just a broad overview. We're going to start from scratch. I don't have anything measured, so we'll probably just fast forward through a lot of this and have some sound and voiceover, because I like to run a vacuum, earplugs, and the saw all at the same time, so it might get a little bit loud.
That's fine. And you have to cut the wood at a 45-degree angle, right?
Yep, so the way I do this, I have the saw set up, and this is a compound miter, but I'll just leave it to where we're only using one of the dimensions that we can manipulate, because I know that the angles are exactly 0 and exactly 45 based off of a lot of projects we've done in the past.
And you can also just use a miter box and a handsaw if you don't have
not
a
as
big
much
setup.
fun, but is also just the same. It's just going to take you a little bit longer. So because this first board is all squared up, my first cut is just, I'm not even going to measure it, it's just going to be eyeballed to where I come down and we take just enough off of the edge where we start with a 45-degree angle. I'll flip this board around, so then every cut after that is going to be made, and you'll see me take all my good cuts off of this side, and my scrap will be on this side. And there is a little bit of math involved to make sure you don't have waste, but then there's also some guesstimate and getting lucky as well.
Okay, I'm gonna start cutting. Okay guys, so he's gonna start cutting. I'm gonna start a new clip so we can splice these together
And I'll talk as I am.
And our light just went off. And anything that we need to tell you guys, we'll voice over or type into the video. Okay, so excuse my kids in the background, but we just got all the pieces inside, and he's going to show you how he lays everything out and what he does to assemble them.
Some type of wood glue, so we'll go over stuff you want to have with you. A damp paper towel helps, dry paper towels help after you put the glue and glue the joints together, and then we put a band clamp on it. This has come in handy a lot if you're going to be doing a lot of these. We ended up buying a second one today just so we can have multiples clamped together at one time. We let the first couple we did sit overnight, which isn't a requirement, but if you really want them to set nice, it's a recommendation. So I usually just start by doing one last sanity check and just loosely piecing everything together, in addition to getting the band clamps loosened enough and almost in a position where it's going to be ready to tighten immediately. This gives you one last sanity check to see if there's anything in the way. I don't sand the pieces beforehand. It's just basic pine. After we get ready to sand or stain or paint or whatever we're going to do, we'll sand it and give it one last coat. So, and I'll also check it for square at the end once they get the clamps on. But that looks like it fits pretty good. The inside, sometimes you'll get pieces that are not straight, so you want to make sure when you buy the piece of wood, whichever one it is, that you've got one without a major warp in it. You'll have to either cut around it, or it'll be self-critiquing and you'll find it when you go to clamp everything together and one of them is sticking up. A little bit of a discrepancy sometimes as well with the inner tiny trim piece. So the 1/2 inch pieces, sorry, the 3/4. Anyway, whatever. So, and I just space these out. I will show it before I actually do it. I'm only going to put glue on these 2 edges and then on these 2 edges, just to reduce the amount of time that we're sitting here trying to glue stuff on top of a countertop, since I don't really have a proper work surface. And then the same thing or similar, I'm going to put wood glue on these 2 45 joints, and I'm going to run a bead down the side, lay that down, and then I just run a bead down the long sides here. I'll push them together, and then I'll mirror what I did on this edge, running a line and a bead where it's going to meet this interior trim piece, and then on the 45s we'll band it together. Just make sure we got the fit checks done again before I tighten up the band clamp and proceed.
Okay everyone, so this one is done. It is all clamped together, and we will leave it sit here for a few hours or overnight. And as you can see, all we do is glue. And from some frame workers who we watched for just floating canvases, not heavier pieces of artwork, this is what was recommended. If you're not comfortable with that, once the piece is dry, you can drive the nail, a couple nails. We've seen a couple people drive a nail through each corner. You are left with a little nail mark then that you'll have to, you know, figure out what you're gonna do or if you're just gonna let it show. But so far, so good. This is the way we're gonna do mine. And I think they look pretty awesome, and I'll show you guys some finished ones. Okay, so here are some finished frames. I have them laying down on the ground because I just have the artwork laying in them. They're not mounted because these aren't necessarily the pieces for these, and I still need to paint and finish the frames. Like for instance, this frame will hold this piece, but I want the frame to be gold. So I still need to paint this piece and then finish it. But I laid the pieces in here so you can see that with the measurements we did, like most canvas frames that you see, they will have a small gap along the side of the frame. But the unfortunate thing is that canvases aren't exact, so you can't have the frame fit the canvas right up to the side of it. So there is going to be a little gap on all 4 sides, but that's actually the way they're supposed to be, and I like the way that looks. So here's just a few of my pieces that I laid inside of these frames. And then here are some more that he did that are finished that I just don't have pieces set in right now. So you can see they're done. It's got the back piece. What you will end up needing to do is pre-drill your holes, one at each north, south, east, and west on the frame at the 4 points for you to be able to flip the frame over with your piece of artwork in it and screw into the frame of your canvas through the inner piece, and that's how your canvas will be held in there. And if you want to take it a step further, what I may do after we get this done is mount, do the brown paper to the back of these, so then the back is completely covered, and then put my hanging hardware on the outside of the brown paper. So they are completely finished frames. So that's it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. And if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask in the comments, and we will get back to you with the information. And I will post as much detail as I can in the description. And I hope this video was helpful. Thanks, guys.